Cold calling isn't dead. Actually, quite the opposite, especially for MSPs. Cold calling is still one of the single most effective ways to get in front of hundreds of prospects in a shorter period of time. Not only that, but you have a higher chance of getting new meetings, closing more deals, and putting more recurring revenue in your pocket. In this video, I'm going to be going over all of the tips, the tricks, what you need to do to have the highest success with cold calling because it is still extremely viable. And if you are looking for more monthly recurring revenue, you have landed on the right video. How are you doing? My name is Harrison Barron from growth-generators.com. We help MSPs grow, whether it's sales training, marketing training, or even some business operations. Before I go into today's video, if you could head over to growth-generators.com, there's a whole bunch of super helpful links at the bottom of this video. Or if you're listening to the podcast version, the MSP Heroes podcast, you could check out those links as well. But if you head over to our resources area, and if you want to just jump in the Discord, all you got to do is hover over resources, click on the Discord link, and you'll be brought into the free Discord. We are past, actually, I'm very curious, but we are past 1,100 members at the time of recording this, 1,114, whatever you want to say for that one. But that's crazy. It is the most active MSP community online, and I would love for you to be a part of it. I jump in there, I give free help, I jump in there, I answer questions, and there are so many other super helpful MSPs in there that would love to either assist, answer your questions, and give you information to help you grow your MSP. So let's talk about cold calling. And if you don't have one of these, you are out of luck. For those of you listening, I'm holding a cell phone. You got to have something that you can call. Now, you don't need a cell phone. You can have a Google Voice number. You can buy minutes, or you could buy a phone number through Twilio. You can use cold calling companies. But regardless of what it is, you need a phone number that you can dial and leads that you can call. Now, if you're looking for leads and you want to know how to go get those, there's plenty of videos on this channel. You're going to want to hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, but also search how to get MSP cold call, leads. I promise you, one of my videos is going to come up. But even before that, even before you have all the leads, we have to get into the right mindset and be prepared. And I know, Harrison, you're probably thinking, don't give me this voodoo stuff. But I have heard all of it from cold calling experts, from just massively successful salespeople, and mindset is huge. You have to go into it with a positive mindset and knowing what you want out of cold calling. I cannot believe how many people cold call and they're like, I want to close them on the phone. Pump your brakes. You're never going to close somebody on the phone on the first call. If you do, I would be terrified because that might not be a good fit for you and your business. We need to make sure that we understand the goal. We're not closing the deal. Truly, we're cold calling to book a meeting. Now, you could be cold calling local businesses around you. You could be cold calling businesses in your specific niche that are further away from you. Whatever it is, you have to make sure that you have a goal at the end of that call. Truthfully, it's going to be to book a meeting, right? The second part of our mindset and preparation is knowing who we're actually targeting, right? You guys are probably tired of me saying it, but if you go to growth-generators.com/resources, you scroll all the way down to the bottom past all of the other super helpful free tools, and you go to the MSP buyer's persona, right? You download that template and use it. We have to know who we're actually targeting because who we target is going to dramatically change how the rest of this video impacts you. If you're cold calling construction companies, they speak different languages, they have different buzzwords, they also have a ton of different perceptions on what's valuable to them. Their IT problems are going to be very different than a healthcare company worrying about HIPAA, or law firms and patient confidentiality, or accounting firms and FDIC, or whatever is coming into their banks, whatever it is. They all have different thoughts, and that's really important to know. We have to know our target audience, the pain points that they're typically experiencing, how we could probably resolve them, and truly understanding their business to the best of our abilities. I would also recommend, as you build out that buyer persona, we do a little bit of research. Now, truth be told, you can't sit there and go line by line by line through an entire list of people to cold call. It would take forever, and truthfully, that's procrastination in my opinion. You got to pick up the phone and dial. But you have to have confidence. You are going to get people that potentially curse you out. For the most part, most people aren't, but they're going to be like, stop bothering me. They're going to hang up on you. You have to get okay with rejection. If you're not okay with rejection, start practicing. But Harrison, how do I start practicing being prepared for rejection? First of all, I'm sure we've all been rejected in life. It's not exactly the most fun. One of my favorite things to do is everywhere you go that you're pulling out your credit card or paying for something, just ask for a 10% discount. You'd be surprised, one, how many places will just give you a 10% discount, but two, most places are not going to give you a discount. They're going to be like, why? I don't know. I just wanted to ask. No, we can't do that. Okay, good. It's that constant reassurance and that constant rejection that is going to get you immune to that rejection, and that will transfer over to your cold calling. I promise it works because I went through it myself. I still do this just to make sure that I'm refreshed. And hey, if I get rejected, whatever. It is what it is. Now, we have the list. You've gotten the list however you wanted to get it. I personally love a program called Lead Scrape. If you want to use it, I'll leave a link down below. I may or may not even be an affiliate with them. Lead Scrape, it's fairly inexpensive. They bill you annually. It's a couple $100 a year, and it'll scrape any niche, find your prospects, and you can run it as many times as you want. So if you want to go for healthcare in your area, and then after that accounting in your area, and after that legal, you can do that. If you want to go to after contractors, manufacturing, and just keep scanning and scanning and scanning, you can absolutely do that. Like I said, I may or may not be affiliated with that. If you want to check out some other ones, Apollo is a pretty popular one, and I'll pull that up for you as well. You could check out Apollo. It's a pretty cool platform. You also have Zoom Info, Data Axle, and there's a bunch more in there. Whatever it is that you choose to use to get leads is totally fine. My personal favorite, Lead Scrape. It scrapes Google. It gives you back great feedback. There are literally hundreds of people in the Discord using it and giving me great feedback on it. So you get your leads, you got to pick up the phone, you start calling. How do we actually structure the cold call? Because we've gotten past the mindset. And for anyone that doesn't think the mindset is important, I promise you it really is. And smile when you're talking to people. They can hear the smile. I know it's crazy, but it is true. There are five, right? I'm doing my math right. 5 different parts. I've already kind of written this out because it's important. You're going to have an opener, the hook. You're going to ask some engaging questions. You have to show your value proposition. And last but not least, the most important one is a call to action to book a meeting. So the opener, quick introduction, the reason for your call. Hey, this is Harrison from Growth Generators. I am calling to speak to so-and-so about MSP growth. Great, right? You might get a hold of that person on the first shot, or you might have to go through the gatekeeper and duck and weave, and you'll learn how to do that over time. And I have tons of training for that in MSP Heroes. But you have to know that you're going to have to go through and talk to potentially a gatekeeper. And if you get right through, hey, this is the person you need to speak to, right? Perfect. Now we need to address the problem immediately, but we need to start with a hook. Hey, my name's Harrison Barron, right? Or if I was an MSP, hey, my name's Harrison Barron from Growth Generators, where we help contractors like yours reduce downtime, make sure your employees can work out in the field correctly, and relieve the thoughts of cyber threats so that way, God forbid anything happens, you don't have to worry about your books and who you owe money to. Can I take a minute or two of your time and tell you why I'm calling? Right? We've kind of given them enough to sink their teeth into, right? We want permission to keep speaking. Then after that, we can then continue to go down through this process, right? Most of the time, you're probably 50-50, depending on how good you are. They're gonna be like, yeah, not interested. I'm happy with my current provider. Okay, great. And you want to try different versions of this. Just because I'm giving you an example on here does not mean that should be the one that you read off of a sheet 1,000 times. Try different things. Hey, can I take a minute and have? I actually got a cold call the other day. Guy was like, hey, Harrison, can I take 27 seconds of your time and tell you why I'm calling? I said, yeah, man, I've used that one before. Feel free. Tells me a little bit about the company. I say, great. I might not be interested in it, but if you want to send me an email, here's my email address, and I'll do some reading, and I'll reach out if I'm interested. Perfect. It was a great cold call because now I don't need to go block that phone number. I would take another call from them. They gave me a piece of communication, and if I'm interested, now the ball's in my court, right? It was a great call. Wasn't threatening or anything like that. After they let you in and they say, yeah, okay, talk to me, right? We want to ask engaging questions. We want to ask about their current IT setup. And please, for the love of God, don't use the word pain points. We want to find out the pain points, but we could just call them issues. Hey, Bob, what are some of the issues you're having with technology? I've already kind of given you a bunch of different ones that we deal with when we're dealing with contractors in the area. But what are your specific issues that you're having that you would love to just get fixed so you don't have to deal with them? Sometimes my printer doesn't work. I can't connect. The computers are all on the fritz sometimes. Somebody has a different version of Windows, whatever it is. They're going to give you some great feedback. Hey, that sounds great. Can I tell you a little bit about what we do now that you've kind of given us some feedback? And it sounds like we might be able to help you, but can I just kind of tell you what we do and how we would solve some of those issues? Yeah, that sounds good. And then explain how your MSP would solve their specific issues in their specific industry. It's important, once again, to know who you're talking to and the problems that they have and how your solutions work very uniquely for them. After you go through and you explain how you do it and what you do, we need to have a call to action. Bam, fam. Book a meeting from a meeting. It's the most important thing. Whether or not you believe it, that cold call is a very brief meeting. We need to book something on the calendar. Now, they might say, hey, I can jump on a Zoom call right now. Guess what? You better be prepared, right? Or if they say, hey, can you come by the office tomorrow at 2 o'clock? You should be there tomorrow at 2 o'clock. But we want to book a meeting, hopefully, a meeting that works out for the both of you as soon as possible. If you speak to them on a Monday, you want that meeting Monday afternoon or Tuesday in the morning at the earliest possible you can possibly have it. But we have to have a call to action. We're not selling on the spot. We're just booking a meeting, hopefully in person. Hey, can I come down to the office, check it out, see what you guys are currently dealing with? And in there, you're going to bring this little plod note because I still think it's the greatest thing in the world and record the conversation so you don't miss any great information or great details with any of this, right? But we need to book that from it. Now, on that call, I'd be crazy to say you're not going to get an objection because you are. That's the truth be told. And by the way, if you've made it this far, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you're listening to the podcast, just pull over to the side of the road and give it 5 stars. I love you extra just because it helps me tremendously. So we have to make sure that we're ready for objections because we're gonna hear them. We already have an IT guy. Okay. I'm super happy to hear that. Do you love them? Let them answer. Right? You might have to come up with differentiators. Yeah, we call him in when we need something, but he doesn't really do anything proactively. Sounds great. We actually focus on a proactive approach. The list is going to go on and on of what they could actually say, but you have to be prepared for these objections. And these objections might be very different in every single industry. The worst one is, I'm not interested. Hey, totally get that. Can I just ask you a couple more questions before I say I'm never going to call you again? I might call you in 6 months if that's okay. Yeah, what do you got? And then reframe the statement with a question. I totally get that you're not interested. So you're telling me there is not a single problem with technology in your office. If so, I'm going to put that in the account. But please, for the love of God, don't call me on a Friday saying things are going sideways and your current provider or however you handle it is taking care of it. I don't want the phone call, and I'd feel horrible putting down the notes that we shouldn't have we shouldn't follow up with you in the future. You can get creative with these things. Send me an email. I'd love to counter that. I'd love to. But can I ask you one quick question first? Sure. If I was to send you an email with some information, what specifically would you like to see on that email? Let them tell you. And then ask for their email address. Don't forget that. That's very important. Now's not a good time. I would have guessed that you were going to say that because I couldn't imagine you were sitting at your phone waiting for me to call. Can we schedule a time later today or tomorrow? Make a joke out of it. Hey, now's not a good time. I got to run. Totally get that. Didn't think you were sitting by the phone waiting for me to call. Can I call you back later at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Yes? Cool. I'll give you a call then. Thanks so much. Have a little fun with it, but you're going to have objections. Practice them with friends, family, and we are doing live cold calling monthly now in the MSP Heroes, not Discord, the membership. If you'd like to check that out, it's under the programs at growth-generators.com, all the way at the top, and then you'll see our programs up there. Now, I want to give you some pro tips because my golden nuggets are always at the end. You have to use a CRM. Truthfully, I mentioned in the last video, I'm going to mention it for videos for the rest of my life until something changes. You need to track the calls in one way or another. You track those in a CRM, a customer relationship manager. That way, you know when the last time you followed up with them is. Also, on top of that, you could put in there follow up in 3 months and make a task for you to follow up in 3 months from that day. You now know that you are not going to be missing things. You can set reminders for yourself in the future so you still perform like a sales assassin. When is the best time to call? You might be thinking this, and I'm only going to tell you if you really hit that like button and that subscribe button and that notification bell. I'm watching you. Thank you. Right? Best time to call. It truly depends on the industry. Contractors, you could start calling them at like 7 a.m. My general rule of thumb for sales and cold calling is you could call typically from 8 a.m. till about 6 p.m. Now, there's going to be two things that you need to be aware of. Around 11:30 to 1:30, people go to lunch. It's typically when people are out at lunch, sometimes even till 2 o'clock. So if somebody's at lunch, call them later. Also, people do late lunch or they leave the office early. Remember, you're dealing with business owners. They might leave the office at 4 o'clock, go deal with their kids, hang out with their kids, hang out with their family, and then start working again at home at 5 o'clock or whatever it is. They're on their way home at 4 o'clock and they're working from their home office until somebody brings them their kids, right? You're going to have a little bit of a kind of a different perspective on it the more you call. Your industries are going to be very, very different. Some industries are going to close up shop at 4 or 5 o'clock. For example, banks. If you're focusing on banks, a lot of banks are only open until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes 5, depending on what bank it is. Maybe a little bit later, but it's not all that common. Banking hours are insane, right? They're open like 9 to 5, and that's it. They're not there a second earlier. They're not there a second later. You have to be really, really careful when it comes to that. Make sure you practice. If you're not practicing and coming up and developing multiple scripts to try out, you are completely missing the boat. If you want to come practice with us, check out MSP Heroes. Practice with a friend, find a peer, find somebody else in the industry and say, hey, do you mind if we cold call and practice on each other? You will get such amazing feedback from that. You have to role play it. I have role played thousands of cold calls because I want to get better. And every once in a while, and as you get better and better, ask the person, be a little more resistant, be a little more pushy. Don't give me an underhand toss and let me crush it, right? Not every call is going to be like that. You have to prepare, you have to practice to be better at cold calling and follow up. Oh my goodness. I don't know what it is, but it's like allergies. Everybody is allergic to following up. I cold called them once. They're not answering. Yeah, obviously. They're not sitting there waiting, watching their phone for the moment you decide to call. Sorry. Now, it'd be really cool if it was like that, but it's not. So we have to make sure that we follow up. You could follow up every week. You could follow up every month. If you've spoken to them and they're like, yeah, no, it's not the right time. Okay, sounds great. Do you mind if I call you again in 3 months? I promise you I'm not going to be a pushy sales guy. If you're happy in 3 months, I'll call you again in 3 months. But I'm going to keep calling you, right? Let them be like, yeah, call me in 3 months. Maybe things change. Cool. Make a little note. Call them again in 3 months. But you could follow up and follow up and follow up. Just don't be annoying. Have a little fun with it. And if you can't get through the person that is in charge, I love those types of times because I am going to call and call and call. Swear, hand to God, this happened one time. One guy goes, hey man, we're not interested. I said, hey, I'm looking for Andrew. Yeah, he's not interested. Thanks. Take care. Bye. Hung up on me. I called him back in a 15-minute sitting 7 times. And I couldn't have even called more because he was answering. He's like, dude, you got to stop calling. I go, all I want to do is talk to Andrew. Put me through to Andrew. I promise you I'm going to stop calling. He goes, Andrew's not even the guy. I go, I know he's the guy. No, I had no idea. I was just calling his bluff and he was probably trying to call my bluff, right? But I kept calling and calling and calling. Guess who I got through to? Andrew. That's it. Did I harass the person? Debatable. But just all I needed to do was ask a question to the right person. I finally got through. He said, Hey, man, appreciate you. I heard you gave one of our sales guys a bit of a hard time. I appreciate the resilience. They go through the same thing. That's okay. That's totally fine. Just don't be annoying with it. Don't be overly pushy. Have a little fun with it. More often than not, I promise you, you're going to get through to the right person if you call back enough times, especially over a period of time. Have fun with it. Treat it like it's a game. I love treating it like it's a game. How many times can I call and get to the right person and trying to bump that number up? Or maybe I try a little thing in the script or something like that. Maybe I try to be a little more pushy. Sometimes I try to be a little less pushy to feel out and see what the right thing is. But have fun with this. Cold calling is truly a testament to how hungry you are and how resilient you are to rejection. I wish you nothing but the best in your cold calling efforts. If you're interested in learning more on how to sell and cold calling scripts and all that kind of stuff, there is links to MSP Heroes down in the video or podcast description. And if you have success cold calling, please let me know. I'd be super excited to hear about it. But it's just what you make of it. It's a task that has to be done, especially if you want those leads. Keep working on it, keep practicing it. And a little bonus tip for you: record yourself every once in a while and listen to it back. You'll pick up things that you should have said or missed on the call that you want to say on the next time. Love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.